Hi, Chris. Can you hear me
Hi,
okay?
Chris. Yeah, I've got you, mate.
Chris, Joe took responsibility for tactics after yesterday. First of all, did you agree with that? And if so, what could have been done differently?
Well, I think it's a collective. I know sort of Joe took that on himself, obviously in the interview afterwards, but I think it's a collective as well. I'm part of that as well. So it's something that we've got to look at together. Potentially if we was to do it again, I agree with Joe. We could probably, gone gone back to sort of plan A sooner than we did. But it's one of those things we have to learn from, without a shadow of a doubt. And obviously, if we get that time again, as Joe said, we would probably consider doing things slightly differently. I don't mind the aggressive approach. But one thing we have to do is become good at sort of removing the tail of a lower order batsman. But equally, I'd like to give some credit to the Indian batsmen as well. I thought they handled the situation really well, navigated the way through it and put their team in a really strong position. So, they have to take some credit for it, but equally, we have to look at our tactics as well.
You praised the Indian batsmen there. What lessons can your own batsmen learn from them? And how concerning is the form of some of those in the middle order and the top order?
Um, Listen, we're sort of having a similar conversation as we did last time, really. Obviously, those big first innings runs have got to be a priority for us, and they are a priority for us. We talk about making big partnerships, and I thought, there was an improvement in that first innings there. We did have some good partnerships between Ruti and Johnny, and sort of various other partnerships down. So in the first innings, we almost got that right. Second innings, obviously, we didn't get that right, and we have to address that. We have to address, potential over reliance at time of Joe getting those runs. But the one thing that I would say we did over a period of time, we played some really good cricket. So although we lost the test match, and yes, we're all gutted about that, don't get me wrong, I think there are some positives there. There are some good things to look at. And I think the first innings, creating those partnerships again, is something that we needed to do. It's something that we need to get back on board with and do more often. And I think if we can do that, we'll find that, consistent, we'll put ourselves in better positions. But I thought for 4 days and probably into that first hour of the fifth day, we played some really good cricket. And unfortunately, India pushed back strong after that. And we didn't have many answers. And but you've got to give credit to India for that as well, the way that they rallied and the push the pressure back onto us. Again, us watching a team that are in a position that we aspire to be in, we can take lessons off them.
How frustrating is it then that we're having a similar conversation that we had last week and potentially weeks previous to that? And kind of what can be done between now and Leeds going forward? Or is it even potentially a mental side of the thing as well?
I think there's a bit of all sorts, really. Firstly, a lot of hard work. We have to keep working hard with the batsmen, keep trying to build confidence. Working on everything that goes about the mental side of it, the technical side of it. I know the batting coaches are doing that. They're working hard with the players. The runs are not coming through any lack of effort. The guys are there, they train well, they train hard. But equally, we have to, at some point, say, right, well, the runs have got to be put on the board. And like I say, we went a certain way to doing that in the first innings of this test match. But by no means are we the finished article. I think we appreciate that. And obviously we have selection coming up, so that's something we have to look at as well, and something we'll be talking about later.
Do you think preparation before the series has played any part in this sort of the lack of red ball cricket?
Oh, listen, I know there's been a lot of talk around that, sort of in the media and various places. It's not ideal, but equally we don't live in an ideal sort of world at the moment with the COVID and everything else that's been thrown at us. I don't think there's any ideal sort of process out there for what we can do, really. And we've got to make the best of what we've got. We've got to try and find solutions for what's in front of us. And I think that's what we're doing to the best of the ability, is trying to find solutions to deal with what we've got. And as I said, we're not in an ideal world at the moment, with what COVID has thrown at us.
You mentioned a couple of times there, deal with what we've got. Does, I guess, another part of the problem, if potentially you were looking at players outside of this current squad, is the fact that obviously nobody else is playing red ball cricket at the moment? Is that another part of the problem?
It just makes it difficult, doesn't it? To bring people in from, say, the 100 or the Royal London or whichever competitions they're playing at a respective time. To bring them in, to throw them into a test cricket. Well, we've seen that, the pressure is huge in this series. It's been playing with a lot of passion, which is great to see. but it's a difficult transition over at times, and it's, you know what I mean, it's one. But obviously, if people do come in, we're going to work hard to try and get them up to speed quickly, and equally work hard with the guys that we've got in the bubble at the moment, or in the environment at the moment, to continue to try and progress them as well. But it's just none of it's ideal. But, you know what I mean, from my point of view, I understand that, and I understand the situation we're in. And, you know what I mean, there's a lot of people working hard to make the best of it, really.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. We'll go to Adam Mountford at the BBC.
Thanks, Danny. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Adam.
Just going back to the tactics, and you say obviously you do things differently. There seemed to be an impression that perhaps England's bowlers were more concerned about getting back at India's tail enders for what happened to James Anderson than getting them out. Is there some truth in that?
Well, you know, I mean, emotions ran high. There's no doubt about it. You know, I mean, obviously they targeted Jimmy in that first innings, and you know, I mean, so we went back hard at them as well. You know, I mean, we tried to go toe to toe with them. I think what we could have done better is sort of shift from that tactic to back to sort of plan A, as such as we call it, where hitting top of off more, probably sooner. But I think, I mean, it was a hard game. It was a hard fought game, and I think that, I mean, the one thing I will say is that, you know, I mean, that competition that created with what happened to me was, it put a lot of fire in his belly for day 4 as well. And I thought, you know, I mean, for a lot of day 4, the way that we stuck at our task was absolutely fantastic with the ball. So, you know, I mean, we can use that fuel to a real positive intent as well. And maybe it just got away a little bit with us, obviously, when the lower order were in, but we'll learn from that. And it's, but what I don't want us to do is to lose the passion. I want us to keep that passion and use it in a real positive way, as we did on day 4. Like I say, it gives you energy, it gives you fuel. So it's, you know, I mean, yes, we could have done things a little bit differently, and obviously I'm part of that as well. And we could have gone back to plan A a bit quicker, but that's sort of the small parts of the game. And hindsight's always a wonderful thing. You know, I mean, had we run through the tail at that point, we'd have been in a great position. But you're constantly learning with this game, and I think that's what we've got to do. We've got to keep his eyes and ears open, and make sure we're taking in these lessons that are there.
Joe Root spoke during the match, suggesting that it was a ploy, the 10 ball over to James Anderson, suggesting some sort of, not say dirty tactics, but obviously a tactical thing. Do you think it was a ploy?
Oh, listen, I wouldn't say it was a ploy. I'm not going to go down those lines whatsoever. You know, it's a tough game. It's Test cricket, and at times people are going to get targeted slightly. But I wouldn't say the 10 ball over was on purpose. I really wouldn't go down those lines. Like I say, I think it's just a game being played by 2 very passionate sides that were fighting hard to get the upper hand at any given point.
Are you concerned about the spirit between the 2 teams going forward in the series?
No, not really, to be honest. I think, you know, I mean, as always, the 2 teams go hard on the park. You know, I mean, behind the scenes, we seem to get on fine. You know, I mean, I don't see any problems there. I just think it's played by 2 very passionate group of people that want to do well for the country, very proud of playing for the country. And I think that's what we're seeing.
And last one for me, Chris. Obviously, you've got selection discussions to come, but are you having to think of a stage, unfortunately, to take Dom Sibley out of the firing line now?
Well, I think I've got to think of everything. Obviously, you know, I mean, we've got discussions coming up tonight with the selections meetings, but I think, as I said last time, I have got to think of everything really, and what is the best way of, you know, I mean, trying to progress England to a place where actually those big first innings runs and second innings runs are becoming on a consistent basis. So I think it's certainly something we're going to have to talk about tonight, but not just about everything really. So,
thank you.
Thanks,
okay, I'm going to take some questions from the written media, and then we'll finish with TalkSport at the end. So we'll go to John Etheridge and then Paul Newman.
Morning, Chris.
Good morning, John.
Hi. I suppose the thing that's sort of eye-catching about the batting is all these noughts. I mean, obviously, both openers yesterday, you know, Hamid, Cohen got a king pair. This goes back, you know, several months, really. I mean, obviously, batsmen can get out cheaply, but I guess, you know, it's the noughts that are particularly eye-catching. Is it especially demoralising when a batsman is out for naught rather than just 5 or 6 or 10?
Well, I don't know, Max. I was a bowler. I mean, it used to burn me when I got out for naught, to be honest. But it's listen, no one means to do it, and their intentions there to go out and score big runs every time they go. They want to make a contribution. you know what I mean, for the country and for the teammates while we're out there with, you know what I mean. I think you touched on Sam. He didn't have his best game with the bat, but we know what Sam's like. He will bounce back. That's what he does. You know what I mean? He finds a way into the game with bat or ball. And people have those types of games. So I've got absolutely no problem with Sam. But it's obviously, you know what I mean, at the top of the order, we're still trying to fight to make sure that we get him, keep saying it, these big first innings runs, you know what I mean, creating those partnerships. And I think the one thing it's going to be, and we've done it, is to a certain extent in the last game, is, you know, creating partnerships all the way down. And obviously with the start that we got, obviously in the second day is not ideal. Ben sort of pushes the pressure down the line onto the middle order, really. But what I want, I mean, they went out with every intention of, you know, I mean, making sure that we ended in a good position in that game. I can't knock their work ethic or the way that they went about the business in training, and that's the preps from that point of view has been very good. It's just unfortunate that obviously these things happen at times. No batsman means to get out for a low score. So, you know, I mean, it's something that obviously they will be thinking long and hard about and trying to put right.
I find it tricky because you've invested a couple of years in several of these guys, so you don't want to rip the whole thing up and start from scratch again, do you? But it's a tricky balance, I guess. No,
you're absolutely right. I mean, as I've said all along, I'd rather give somebody one too many chances than not enough. And we have invested in people, you know what I mean, give people plenty of opportunity. But at the same time, clearly I don't want to go in and just sort of start ripping things up. But at some point, we have to think about potentially sort of manoeuvring things a little bit to try and find a better balance somewhere, or something that works. So I think, yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I have to be open-minded, but that's something that may have to happen. I have to keep my eyes open to that.
Okay, let's go to Paul and then Tim Wigmore. Go ahead, Paul.
Hi, Chris. Could I just ask the latest on Ben Stokes' situation? I don't think you put a sort of time limit on it when he was ruled out. You know, when he withdrew from the side. Have you checked on him? Is there any chance he could feature in this series, do you think?
It's, I mean, there's still no time limit on it, Paul, to be honest. You know, I mean, I just stress again that the important thing is that Ben, you know, I mean, he's okay, his family are okay, and that he comes back strong. And when he re-enters the frame, he's ready in his mind to come back and perform for England like we know he can. I'm certainly not pushing him for an answer. I don't think that would be the right thing to do. You know what I mean? So there's people around him supporting him, and when he's ready to come back in, obviously we'll welcome him back with open arms. But until then, he'll get all the support he needs.
So would there be a call to him today, for instance, before selection tonight, just to see where he is? Or is that
no? There's no pushing from my point of view. I don't think you can push these issues. You know what I mean? I'll wait. There's going to be an element of waiting for him to come to me to let me know he's ready.
And could I just check on Mark Wood's fitness? Obviously, he went over on his shoulder, but he gave it everything as he always does yesterday. Is he going to be okay for Leeds, do you think?
Well, again, obviously the medics are working on him. We'll find out more in the next couple of days. But, you know, I mean, just to touch on Woody there, I think what he did for the team there, the way he came out and the effort, and to bowl at 90 mile an hour with a sore shoulder, it just shows how much he cares about the team and how much he cares about playing for England and how passionate he is. So, you know, I thought it was a superb effort. I'm very proud of him for what he did there. And he's, you know, he'll be trying his best to get ready for Leeds, but equally we have to look after him as well. But it was a super effort what he did, and obviously very proud of him for getting out there and giving everything he got.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Tim and then Chris Stokes.
Hi, Chris. In other formats, we've seen both Dawid Malan and James Vince do pretty well for England in recent times. Is it an attractive option to have a little bit more experience, I guess, back in that top five?
Well, like I said, you know, I mean, so I've said earlier, I've got to keep my eyes and ears open and my mind open to all suggestions, and it's certainly things that we'll be talking about this evening in selection when we all get together. You know, I mean, I think I've got to be open-minded to whichever suggestions are thrown forward, and obviously my own opinions as well will get shared during that meeting. And then, but yeah, I think I've got to be open-minded to everything.
And I know a lot of kind of planning's being done with Brisbane really in mind. Is it too late to bring someone in who hasn't been in the setup in your time, or actually do you think it could still be okay?
I think it could still work. 'Cause, I mean, it's not like I'm not in touch with these guys. You know, I mean, I'm seeing them over the various formats, and my relationship with these guys are very good. You know, I mean, and obviously I'm quite close to them, so I wouldn't say it's you can't do it. You know, I mean, I don't think you can ever say you can't do things like that. You've got to do what's best for the team ultimately. So I think I'm lucky the fact that obviously working over all formats, I get to know these guys well. I've got a relationship with them that actually, if I was to bring them in, would already be an existing relationship there that we could work from.
Okay, we'll go to Chris and then Dean Wilson. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, mate.
Just on Mark Wood again, will you give him every chance to be fit for Headingley, so he's in the squad, even if you're not sure if he's going to be available, or might you have to make a call with potentially, you know, the rest of the series and the Ashes in mind that he needs that test off?
Well, I mean, I will give him every chance to be fit, but at the same time, I will have to look after him as well. You know, I mean, he's a bowler I've got at the moment, can hit 90 mile an hour plus. I've got to look after him, but he will be given every opportunity to be fit for Leeds, and obviously we'll make a decision along with him and the medics closer to the time and see where he is. But it's you know, if he's not right, he's not right. I certainly won't push him into playing if he tells me he's not right. Yeah, I mean, I'll look after him.
And just on the kind of the mental preparation, I guess, ahead of Headingley, how you kind of deal with the defeat at Lords and how you kind of channel the frustration from that. Will you have some kind of debrief when you get back together again next week, or what's the process behind make sure the lads are kind of in the right headspace heading into that next test match? Well,
we had a debrief last night. I mean, we tend to talk about things very openly and very honestly in the dressing room. You know, I mean, it's the one thing that I believe is beneficial to a team, is being able to sort of very maturely talk about what's happened without letting the emotions get in the way. But I think there's also going to have to be, the good thing is we've got a little bit of space now between obviously this test finishing and Headingley, so they can go home, spend a bit of time with their families, you know, sort of calm down a little bit and sort of clear their minds, and we can come back afresh. I think the one thing that I did remind them, it's not a position that we're not used to. I mean, we've been in this position before where we've gone 1-0 down in a series and still come back and won. So I've made sure that we remember those feelings and we remember those times and how we did it, and just, you know, I mean, pushed that. You know, I mean, so they've got the belief that they can do it because they have done it before. And like I said, again, just re-emphasize to the guys that for a majority of this test match, we played some excellent cricket. We played some really good cricket, which is encouraging and promising. You know, I mean, we're just going to make sure that we keep pushing that and we keep pushing to take the chances that are made available to us. And if we do that, then, you know, I mean, we will get over the line. But it's just a case of they've got to believe it as much as I do. You know what I mean? So, and I think this little break now will help them clear their minds. We'll come back, we'll start again, have a chat when we get in there. Again, re-emphasize all the good things we've done, make the plan, and move forward.
And also, when are you expecting Chris Wokes to be available again?
Again, I've got to listen to the medical staff on this one, so I'm working very closely with them. I mean, I'd love him back as soon as possible. We know he's a fantastic cricketer, and we love seeing him in England colours. But so it's something I'll be working close with the medical staff with. But honestly, I haven't got an answer for you right now.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we'll go to Dean and then we'll finish with Scott Taylor at TalkSport. Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, hi, Spoons.
Hi, Dean.
Just when you sort of think about how you're going to try and get back into this series from 1-0 down, I mean, how are you going to get those big first innings or even second innings runs when you kind of look at the players available to you? You've only got one guy in Joe Root who averages above 34. I mean, the numbers tell their story over a period of time. It's been about 10 years since England have produced what you might call a world-class batsman of any note. I mean, how on earth are you going to score these runs?
Well, the same way as we did it before, Dean. You know, we did it in South Africa. We've done it in England before. It's building partnerships. And I know Rooty is the one that's scoring the lion's share of the runs at the moment, but in the past, we have had other people score them. I mean, Rooty touched on that in an interview, I believe. You know, I mean, if it's not him one day, then, you know, I mean, you hope someone else stands up. And usually it does. But I think if we build the partnership, don't forget we got 390 in the last Test match in the first innings against what is a very good bowling attack. So if we can keep building these partnerships, you know, I mean, and you know, I mean, creating big ones, so you get your 100 partnerships, your 75, your 50s, they all add up. And as long as we're concentrating on that, I think that's the way back into it. It's, you know, I mean, obviously, yes, this is a bigger picture, but how do we get there? Well, the process is by creating these partnerships every time we go out there. And if we do that, we can help each other, we can focus on each other and focus on what we're doing, and keep driving us forward. I think that's the way back into it from a batting point of view, which is you know, I mean, we did well in the first innings of this game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously based around Joe, you know, that's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and at the moment it looks like he can cope, but there's no guarantee. I mean, I just wonder whether there's a feeling that it's a little bit more hope rather than expectation, really, when the batsmen go out to the middle. That, you know, do they believe they can do it?
Well, I think the Dukes, they did it in the first innings, so you know, I mean, the belief is obviously there, and it's like I say, it's not through lack of effort, and we did it in that first innings against the fired up bowling attack, which is, I mean, high quality. So there's no reason we can't do it again. We've just got to follow the process and keep believing in the process. And yes, Joey's coping fantastically at the moment. I mean, he's playing absolutely beautifully. He has done for a while now, and he's got to continue riding that wave. And he's, you know, I mean, a Joe Root in form, you know, I mean, helps England massively. And that's what we're seeing, a Joe Root in form.
And just a final thought on the, you touched on sort of the aggressive nature of this series thus far. Do you think that your batsmen are relishing this duel with not only a fine attack, but a pretty feisty one?
I think they are. Yeah, I mean, but one thing they're not scared of is, you know, I mean, is a little bit of a fight. So it's one thing, you know, I mean, they push us, we push back, and it's, you know, I mean, to me, it creates great Test cricket, and you know, I mean, I think anybody watching that Test match over those about 5 days, yes, we're disappointed in the result, but what a Test match to watch. You know, I mean, it swung both ways at times. We've seen some top class batting from Root, some high class bowling from both sides, and it's, to me, it's been a great Test match to watch. And like I said, there has been a little bit of fire in there. You know, there's emotion in there from two sets of proud players, I mean, playing for their country, representing their country. And I think it's great. You know, the guys are getting stuck into this fight, and I think they are enjoying it.
Yeah, it's great to watch. Thanks.
Thanks, Dina.
Cheers, Dean. Last two then from Scott Taylor, please. Thank you.
Hey, Chris. You might have touched on this already, but during that morning of day 5, especially during Bumrah and Shami's partnership, can you or have you offered any sort of advice or input to Joe when the emotions tend to boil over?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've talked about it. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and we all sit there and say, right, well, actually, if the aggression had paid off when it blow the tail away, we'd have all been happy and said, right, okay, we've got a formula. It's, you know, I mean, I think what we've got to do is get a fine line between the aggression and going back to plan A, which is top of off, and you know, I mean, it's and making them hit good balls. And it's getting that balance right. So obviously it's something that Joe and I will talk about. It's certainly something that if it happened again, I think Joe and I would be, I mean, very much on top of that.
And just finally on Mark Wood, I know you said you'll give him all the time he needs to be fit for Headingley, but given what's happened to Jofra Archer and Ollie Stone, and given what's ahead, how important is it to look after one of your very few bowlers who can bowl 93, 94 mile an hour?
In one word, very. Yeah, it's honestly, it's massively important that we look after Woody, to be honest. You know, I mean, he is a prize asset. You know, I mean, we've found ourselves in a position where he's, you know, you lose sort of Archer and Stone. You know, I mean, we've got one guy left now that can bowl that fast. But I mean, that doesn't take away from the quality of the rest of the bowlers we've got in that attack as well. You know what I mean? Obviously, you got Jimmy in there. You know what I mean? Robbo's coming through and showing how good he is as well. And if you think the guys that we've got behind batting, Craig Overton, obviously Saki Mahmood, sat in the sidelines. We've got plenty of people that are out there. I mean, Sam Curran for the left arm option. We saw him grow during the Test matches. You know what I mean? From obviously Trent Bridge to where he is now, we've seen his bowling improve all the time. So, I mean, yes, he's the one that can hit 90 mile an hour, but we've got some real quality within the rest of the bowlers that are there as well. So it's, I mean, from a seam bowling point of view.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay. Thanks, Spoons. Appreciate coming on the call.
Anytime, guys.
Just so everyone's aware, we will confirm selection timings in due course. It won't be at the earliest until tomorrow, so it won't be tonight, but it'll be tomorrow at the earliest, and I'll confirm that hopefully later today in terms of when we're looking to announce. Any questions, just send me a WhatsApp. Cheers, guys. Hope you have a good day. Thank you.